Hello, and welcome to Trauma Course Module 3, Activity 1. We're going to continue to talk about trauma and the impact on the brain, but this time, dive into behavior. It's important to understand that every behavior has a meaning. Behavior is a way that we all communicate. For students, it's a way that they communicate their emotions when they know no other way, communicate their feelings, communicate if they feel safe, welcomed, and belonged. Every behavior has a form and a function. Forms could be aggressive, tantrum, noncompliance, social withdrawal, self-injury, or repetitive behavior. Those are just some examples of the forms of behavior that we may see. Now, children who experience trauma and children who have not experienced trauma all have behaviors that we might see here on the screen. All of our behavior also has a function. Our function is to obtain or get something, to escape something, or to have some self-soothing qualities. So as we think about the students that we are engaging with in our classrooms, and we see behaviors that we see as challenging or wanting to focus on more prosocial behaviors, we first need to think of the form that behavior is taking, but then most importantly, think about the function. Is the child or student trying to escape something? Why do they want to get out of that situation? And not just because they're a, quote, bad student, or, quote, they always try this, or, quote, they never want to do this, but truly understanding why. Are they trying to obtain something? Obtain information from you, obtain reactions from you, obtain reactions from the students in their class? Are they trying to be the center of attention? Why? It's important to understand that challenging behaviors of traumatized children are driven by fear. They are not being rebellious or defiant, but they are in a state of fear. And so, as we said, every behavior has a meaning. Every behavior has a form, and every behavior has a function. So here is a flow chart to be thinking about how we are reflecting and engaging with the students who may have challenging behaviors because of the impact of trauma on their brain. A child or student who is constantly in survival mode. And so as we think about the different types of behavior, and when we think about students who may be showing a form of behavior where it is arousal, such as they are yelling or throwing a tantrum or being non-compliant, or what we may see as, quote, talking back, we have to understand that the child's brain is flipped, as we learned about in a previous module, and statistics research say that for anyone, including the children and students we are working with, it takes about 45 minutes for our brain and body to come back to a state of normalcy, a state of non-arousal. So when we are trying to talk to a student who is yelling at us, or have logical conversations with a student who may be in a high arousal state, we have to remember it takes about 45 minutes to calm down. We see this in sitcoms every day when we hear couples say, let us sleep on it, or we see a family member say, we need to take some time and then we'll come back together. This is building on the science of brain. There are 5 states of arousal starting at terror, which then go to fear, alarm, alert, and calm. It is important to remember that some of the children and students we work with never reach that state of calmness because of the constant turmoil that they may be experiencing in their life. They may be at a constant state of alarm or alert, where they're constantly listening to the tone of voices in the classroom or to the loudness or softness of peers in the classroom, because their bodies, their brains are trying to survive. And as we've already said in some of the previous modules and activities, it is so important to know what triggers a student. And when those triggers change, or when a student's behavior changes, that is a time to think about what could be impacting that behavior. And so I want us to think about this reflection as we end this module activity 1. What are your pet peeves? Because often the things that drive us to the point of yelling, or drive us as educators to the point of sending a student out of the room, is actually something that we can reflect on. Oftentimes, student behavior can be misinterpreted as defiant or challenging, but actually teachers need to carefully watch children to identify patterns that may indicate sensory issues or a drastic change in behavior. It's important to understand self-regulation is not compliance, but rather self-regulation is built on relationships. And so one of the things that Dr. Rosemary Allen states in a TED Talk she gives around challenging behaviors is that oftentimes children and students are punished because of the pet peeves we as adults have, and not because of the teaching and the modeling that we need to be doing in the classroom. So we may discipline or punish a child or student because their constant talking is a pet peeve of ours, but rather we should be teaching and modeling and reinforcing the prosocial behavior that we're aiming for in our classrooms. And that is another strategy of developing a trauma-informed classroom.